I'm glad you've joined me for this classic film review. It's a film I've enjoyed for many, many years, watched it many, many times, and I still enjoy it. It's very entertaining, it's got suspense, it's got humour, and it stars two of my favourite actors, Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn, who are wonderful together. The film is Charade from 1963. Due to the single word title, the fact that the film stars Cary Grant, the genre that the film is in, the structure of the screenplay, the frequent plot twists, many people believe this was a Hitchcock film. Hitchcock was not involved in this film in any way, but fans of the film call it the best Hitchcock film that Hitchcock never made. The film took an unusual path to the big screen. The screenwriters Peter Stone and Mark Beam shopped their script, The Unsuspecting Wife, around Hollywood, showed it to 7 of the major studios, none of whom showed any interest. So they adapted it into a novel, and a publisher picked it up. It was retitled Charade and was serialised in Red Book magazine. And it was in Red Book that a number of the studio execs got wind of the story and were subsequently eager to buy it. The film rights were quickly sold to producer-director Stanley Donen. Stone then wrote a final shooting script, tailoring it to the stars Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn, with Beam receiving a story co-credit. Stanley Donen was a very experienced filmmaker. Although he'd done a lot of his work in musicals, making films such as On the Town, Royal Wedding, Singing in the Rain, he'd worked with some big stars: Doris Day, Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra, Ingrid Bergman, Debbie Reynolds, Elizabeth Taylor, and he'd worked with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn on a number of films in the past, though not together. Cary Grant initially turned down this film. At this stage of his career, he was very conscious of the age gap between him and the women that he played opposite. Warren Beatty and Natalie Wood were initially considered for the key roles, but they soon went to Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. Several years earlier, Cary Grant had been offered a role in a film opposite Audrey Hepburn, a film called Love in the Afternoon, but he turned it down at that time because of the age difference between the two of them. He was also initially committed to Sabrina back in 1954 in the role that eventually went to Humphrey Bogart. Cary Grant turned 59 during the filming of this particular film, and he was sensitive about the 25-year age gap between him and Audrey Hepburn, who was 33 at the time. He was very uncomfortable with a lot of the romantic interplay in the script, so to satisfy his concerns, the filmmakers agreed to add several lines of dialogue in which Cary Grant's character comments on his age, and Regina, Audrey Hepburn's character, is portrayed as the pursuer. After finishing this film, Cary Grant was quoted as saying, "All I want for Christmas is to make another movie with Audrey Hepburn." Sadly, that never happened. He was considered for the role of Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady opposite Audrey Hepburn, and he had requested that Hepburn play opposite him in Father Goose, both films that were shot in 1964. This film has a number of really great scenes that are very memorable and very enjoyable. One of them is a shower scene. Interestingly, a Hitchcock film that was never made, a very different kind of shower scene. Cary Grant was allowed to shower in his clothing, given his advancing age and the fact that he put on a little bit of weight. Now, despite that, as they ran the scene, they realised it had a great comic effect, and as a result, they were very happy to keep it. When this film was released, the makers of the film forgot to put the copyright symbol on the film, and at the time that was required by law in order for a film to go into copyright. As a result, on the day of its release, the film actually went into the public domain. Now, as a result, the film has been reproduced many times, often from very poor quality prints, and tracking down a good quality copy of Charade can be quite challenging. Now, this is one of the rare movies which becomes a whole different story on subsequent viewings. Once you know and understand the plot twists, viewing the film again is a very different experience. And for me, that's a mark of a great film and a great classic film. A film that you can watch several times, continue to enjoy, and see different things almost every time you watch it. The film was released during very challenging times. It was an old Hollywood style of film, released into very new times. You know, the cusp of the sexual revolution, television was in the ascendancy, new wave cinemas were emerging in countries like France and some years earlier in Italy. It was released around the time of the death or the retirement of classic stars, people like Humphrey Bogart, Clark Gable, Grace Kelly and Marilyn Monroe. And it was released not long after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. As a result, the mood in America was certainly very sombre, and the same could probably be said for many other parts of the world. The film opened in Radio City in Manhattan in December of 1963, and from 6 a.m. Reportedly crowds were lined out the door, down the street and around the corner. They didn't want to miss a chance at grabbing a seat to see this particular film. The popularity of the film didn't last into the new year. Pauline Kael, a film reviewer of the time, said, I couldn't persuade friends to go to see Charade, which, although no more than a charming confectionery trifle, was, I think, probably the best American film of 1963. Now, at the time of its release, and subsequently, the film still garners a lot of really, really good reviews. People enjoy the interplay between Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn, as well as the quite clever storytelling and the comedy as well. It's included among the American Film Institute's list of the top 500 funniest American movies ever made, and the AFI's list of the top 400 most heart-pounding American films ever made. It's a film I really, really enjoy. I think you're going to enjoy it as well. So what I'd encourage you to do is go to our website, find the link, follow it, watch the film, see what you think, and certainly come back, let us all know what you thought, and whether you encourage other people to watch the film as well. And then we'll see you again in the not too distant future for another Classic Films review.